And we're back. So we're going to start off today by reading the official statement from the DC So White campaign. For those of you who have significantly better things to do with your life, the DC So White campaign was an online campaign started primarily by activists who wanted to see more Black characters in ongoing DC books. There's a big complaint. Cyborg doesn't have a book ongoing, and so there's a lot of fuss about that. So let's read this. First and foremost, we want to thank everyone who supported the DC So White campaign. Gross. Sorry, I added gross. They didn't actually say that in the text. I'll just read it as is. We'll talk about it afterwards. Since the beginning of this year, thousands of comic readers, retailers, creators, and fans have joined us in advocating for greater investment in Black characters and opportunities for Black creators within the comic book industry. I have a lot to say about this. Today, we are announcing the end. The end of the DC blackout boycott. The decision comes after a lot of reflection and conversation with members of the comic book community. While the boycott was launched to draw attention to an issue we believe remains important, it became clear that the conversation surrounding the boycott was often overshadowing the larger goal of the campaign. The fact remains that it has been more than 1,200 days since a Black character has headlined a solo title in DC Comics mainline continuity. Can you imagine being so insane as to count that? And then to use that as evidence of some type of systemic oppression. Like, I mean, when I talk about the fact that Black people have absolutely lost the plot, this is what I'm talking about. Because there is not an ongoing book run led by a Black character in DCU, does not mean that that is an issue. That does not mean it needs to be a boycott. You have to demonstrate that there is an audience for this book. That is on you to do. You have to demonstrate that there is an audience for this book. You have to go out and buy the Cyclops statues that Prime One puts out. You have to go out and buy those posters. It's up to you to go to, I don't know if Hot Topic still does this, but it's up to you to go out and buy the merchandise to demonstrate to DC that there's an audience for this book. It is not on DC to just put out books you're not even going to read just to make you feel better. I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to do this until we got to the end of this. Anyways, but that title is absolutely infuriating. We continue to believe that this is an issue worth discussing. It is not an issue. It is fundamentally not an issue. Like, one of the problems that has happened to Black people in the certainly in the last 20 years is that we have turned everything that we kind of don't like into an issue which means we need to advocate. The problem fundamentally is that the issue isn't a lack of advocacy. The issue is that we do not buy mainstream legacy DC comic books. Period. We are not the target audience. We are not the main audience. We do not drive sales. Therefore, they don't make books for us. That's it. When the if all of these creators and all of these people who were so concerned about if they went into their local comic book store consistently for a year, they would start to get books that catered to their taste. That doesn't happen because they don't even know where their local comic book store is, assuming their locality even has a local comic book store anymore. Like, this is just online pandering to people who don't read the books, but they just want to know that these things are happening. However, we also recognize that many fans and creators we care about felt the boycott unintentionally minimized books, characters, and creators whose work provides meaningful representation for women, LGBTQIA plus readers, people of color, and other marginalized communities. That was never our intention, and we apologize for that impact. We heard those concerns and they played a major role in our decision to reevaluate the boycott. So, once again, they didn't learn anything from this. They didn't manage to realize that actually maybe we need to look at the market for these books. And if there is no market, then there really won't be any product. That's how this works. DC is not a charity service. Comic books are not a human right. It's not water. It's not access to electricity. Nobody is going to die if they don't read another shitty Vixen a mini series. And I know that because they haven't made one in forever and no one cared. So why did this end up coming to an end? It's not that they learned anything. They got into uh, an inter-party conflict or intra-party conflict where now other people who love to use diversity and pandering to get paid were like, hey, you're stepping into our lane where we are getting paid doing diversity books. Now you're telling people not to buy because you're not getting in. Well, we're not going to support you then if you don't support us. And they're like, okay, we'll back off. We're gonna cancel our campaign. And again, they're canceling a boycott. People who weren't buying comic books yesterday are canceling their boycott, where they will continue not to buy these books. Absolute insanity. Our goal has never been to take representation away from anyone else in pursuit of our own. We believe that Black creators deserve greater support. By support, they just mean free money and opportunities. There is no market. They don't deserve that. They just fundamentally do not deserve. And I say this as someone who is Black, who worked as an artist. I have worked in animation. I have put out my own comic books. I've done a lot of things. I did not deserve representation. I always understood this is a product market challenge. The goal of a creator is to produce a product such that the audience, whoever that may be, wants to buy. That is it. And that is on the creator. It is not on a Twitter campaign to guilt people into wanting to buy a book that they don't want. As a result, DC So White will continue as an awareness and advocacy campaign rather than a boycott effort. And again, DC is like, oh, so the money you weren't putting in a month ago, you'll just continue to not put in? Okay, that's fine. One of the most effective ways readers can support creators and influence public publisher decision making is through pre-orders before a book's final order cutoff FOC date. Pre-orders are one of the clearest indicators of reader interest and help publishers and retailers determine future investments in creators' titles and creative teams. We encourage fans to support the books and creators they want to see succeed, particularly those from underrepresented communities. Why? Again, why? Okay, so they managed to stumble over the answer at the very end. And this is from James Portis III. So they say, let's just read this part again. One of the most effective ways readers can support creators and influence publisher decisions is through pre-orders before a book's final order cutoff FOC date. Pre-orders are the clearest indication of a reader's interest and help publishers and retailers determine future investments in characters, titles, and creative teams. We encourage fans to support the books and creators they want to see succeed, particularly those from underrepresented communities. If you're unsure of the title, contact your local comic book store. And then we'll get to the rest of this. So let's talk about that first bit. They're not wrong. Pre-orders are one of the clearest indicators of reader interest, and it does help the publishers understand what characters they want. But the reality is, you have to support. It's two parts. One, fans have to show up and buy the books from for the either the creatives they care about or the characters they care about. Fans have to show up. This is the only thing that matters. By far and away, this is the only thing that matters. If fans will not show up and support these books, then they won't succeed. Then the other part of this is, particularly from those of underrepresented communities. Well, why? Well, well, we should have representation. Why? Well, because it's important, so that way more Black creators can succeed. Why? Well, what do you mean? It's like, well, who is reading their books? Well, legacy comic book industry is mostly driven by middle-aged white men. Do they want those books? Some, and some are genuinely good books. People like Static Shock. I think Static Shock's amazing. But the real question is, who are these books for? And if when you think about who the book's for, you're imagining a precocious 8-year-old with glasses who's going to the comic book store and they only see white characters and they get sad and they go, oh, there's no one who looks like me. And then they look up and they see one book and it's like a black hero and they go, yes. Then I'm sorry. You're living in a fantasy world that really doesn't exist. That kid does not exist. You know why? Because that kid's reading manga right now. That kid is reading Dragon Ball Z. They're not going to Legacy DC looking for heroes. They're reading Naruto. They're reading Dragon Ball Z. They're reading My Hero Academia. This is what they're into. They are not reading these books. So to go to DC, which is a legacy publisher from the Second World War, and expect them to be successful producing books, particularly for an audience that does not exist, you're absolutely insane. Now let's read the last of this. The DC So White campaign remains active. The petition remains active. Sorry, the DC So White campaign is not ending. The petition remains active. We will continue to highlight Black creators, promote Black independent comics, document industry trends, and advocate for greater investment in Black creators across mainstream comics. They don't need more investment. You only invest in things to get a return. When you give money with no expectation of return, that's a subsidy. So what they're advocating for greater subsidies of Black characters who do not have the market demand to support their creation. So what they want is a subsidy, and that's fine. It's fine to advocate for subsidy. There are plenty of subsidies I don't like, but that's what this is. We don't know what the future holds for DC in the coming weeks, months, or years. I do. Absolute Batman, absolute universe. That's what the future holds for DC because that is what moves books. Notice how, as soon as Absolute Batman dropped, people were unsure until the sales numbers hit. When the sales numbers hit for Absolute Batman and the fans embraced it and the fan art stuff started coming in, to anyone who knows anything about comics, you knew Absolute Batman is now a real Batman. Now, there was a future series, which I forget because everyone forgot about it, where they also had a Batman. They had a Black Batman. Actually, let me find it really quickly. Future Batman Comics Black. Future State. That was the name of this thing. Jace Fox. Future State. Like, this was a book. This was a Batman. This was another take on Batman. It didn't work. It just didn't work. No one cared. And because no one cared, this Batman doesn't exist. But if this Batman had received the same level of enthusiasm as Absolute Batman, we wouldn't be having this conversation. What we do know is Black characters deserve the same opportunities, promotion, and great stories as everyone else. They actually don't. This is what this campaign has always been about and what we will continue to fight for. And when DC finally announces a Black ongoing, we'll be there for phase 3 of this campaign like we originally intended. Black characters deserve the opportunities that the fans give them because there is interest. DC is a company. Batman deserves uh, Batman deserves opportunities. Why? Because Batman has proven, as a character, Batman has proven that he's a winner. He's a winner. Winners deserve things because they win. If DC announced we're not doing any more ongoing Batman books, they'd be like, that doesn't make a ton of sense. Batman deserves opportunities and promotions and great stories. What does Jace Fox deserve? Let's read some of these comments. Okay. From Smoking Star, maybe you should be less sexist and homophobic because it seems this energy is only for black men, but F queer people. Really weird you decided to do this during Pride Month. Other POC and especially women because black men are men above everything else as you showed. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely for their audience, particularly on the left, the idea that this might benefit black men is going to be a significant problem in rallying attention for this thing because the right is absolutely not going to care, obviously, and the left loves everything black as long as that thing black is also a woman. This is why black people will never get equity. Too often we keep ourselves in the margin so others can shine. Equity, having a monthly comic book is not an issue of equity. It is not unfair to black people that there isn't an ongoing cyborg book. Black people do not care. This is a non-issue. And an attempt by the creator class of black character of black creators to get subsidies out of industry. That's what this is. And that's fine. It's fine to advocate for subsidies. Like I said, the black people will not be the first to advocate for subsidies. And we can argue about whether or not subsidies are good, but subsidies exist. There are plenty of subsidies, and they're arguing for one. Fine. But we don't have to dress it up as if this is the Million Man March. That's not what this is. Here we go. You force people to pay attention and analyze how black characters and creatives are treated, and that's a great thing. Treated how? Again, there is just this generalized sense of black people are being mistreated somehow. It's too bad some people can't imagine anything other than to lick boots, but we'll fight for them anyway. And fight for them? Fight for them? What are we talking about? Oh my goodness. I'll stand by the movement no matter what. I have unending respect for all you guys have been working for. Again, what are we talking about? Thank you for bringing up attention. Sorry this turned out that way. Turned out what way? Respect the team's decision. People calling them out for attention. Yeah. So that is the end of the DC so white DC blackout uh boycott. Another absolutely nothing of a campaign by people looking for free money and attention. That's how it goes. Let's see what else is here. What a nightmare. All right, let's listen to this lady. So this is I've seen this before, but I forget how it ends.
In male-dominated positions. Did you say boo? You boo? You don't think that more women?
Oh, oh, I got a weird audio issue, so I can't play this now. So these guys are shamed because some ladies walk by. One of them is very overweight, and they laughed. And this person comments, "This is so fascinating because she didn't do anything to get a reaction from them, but her very existence is provocation because women are expected to be objects for the viewing pleasure of men above all else. If you fail at that, you failed at womanhood so hard it becomes comical." I mean, it's not nice to laugh at people because they're overweight, but women absolutely have no leg to stand on this issue. Like, women have mocked men for their appearance. So, I mean, I think that it's interesting in that like it's not nice. And these two guys are super, they're definitely would be considered very good looking. And so I get that the issue people have is that like, well, these are, and also notice that she's not insulting them, and that's where I'm going, is that she's not insulting them for their looks. And that's part of this issue. If they were ugly or overweight themselves or something else, she would say, "Oh, look at these guys. Who do they think they are?" She can't do that because they are. She would probably consider them to be attractive. And so what she can do is say, "Well, it's mean what they're doing," and it is. Look, it's not nice to laugh at people when just for being fat. It's not nice, but it is something that people do, and women do not have a leg to stand on this issue. All right. Here we go. The women of 2026. I don't know if anyone else gets this, but my Twitter is filled with Africans fighting the gender war, which is exactly like the gender war over here, only maybe more unhinged. Maybe more. Anyways, women of 2026 do not build with men. They want an already built man. And when that man tells them the price, they begin ranting that the man is only after her body. Go and make your own money and stop following men for money. And this woman says, this black woman, of course, as an already established single lady, do not build with any man. I repeat, do not build with any man. It has never ended well. Thank you and God bless. Okay, so let's talk about this. You you have to understand where black people are in terms of the composition and the way in which we operate in the world. So what we've done is we spent 40 minutes, 40 years teaching black women to be independent of the only men who have them near, well, frankly, at the top of their preferences. So for black women, if they are going to get married, it is almost certainly going to be a black man. And so what we have done is to then teach black girls to go to war with black men and desire white men. So think about, so I'm gonna break this down again. And we reduce a lot on this channel. So they taught black women to go to war and compete with and vilify and fear black men, who are the only group of men who prioritize black women, who are, if they're going to marry, are going to marry black women. These are literally these are their options. They have taught them to compete with those men and hope for white men who have those women at the bottom of their options. And so whenever you see these women who are like, as a single lady, don't build with any man, it's never ended well. And so there's always this positioning around the black woman staying away from black men, but also competing with black men. But at the same time, most black women will give birth to black children. So they are getting with black men. It's not like there's this mass celibacy movement in the black community, and or women are just not choosing men at all, or they're only, if they can't get white men, they're just not having kids. They are having kids. They're having kids with black men. They're dating black men. They're having sex with black men. They're just not building anything with black men. And let's read the comments because why should I have a happy day? Here we go. Oh boy. Here we go. Y'all, so this is some guy says, y'all will disrespect and cheat on the men you claim to be building with, thinking every man is foolish and wouldn't give an S. Now he levels up and gives you your medication, I guess gives it back to you. You go ranting about not building with a man without saying what you actually did. She's like, why always lying about cheating to justify your disloyalty? All the time, every other woman who builds with their men cheated. Now come up with some better lies. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know what is going on in Nigeria. Jason Terry. Jason Terry is someone who I think I follow on Twitter. I don't know, but I see him stuff a lot. Let's see what he says. So the tweet he was responding to says black parents failed black women when it came to dating. Failed. Uh, I would love to know what this is about. And he's like, Jesus Christ, black women have the mental capacity of retarded 5-year-olds. Yeah, I mean, I get his point. The issue is, first of all, and this is where this is where we have to start. Whenever you see black parents, like whenever you see parents, whenever you see the word parents, and they're talking about black, if these kids are in anywhere in the West, so that's Canada, the United States, or UK, you have to understand 70%, and I say this all the time, 70%, it's actually 71%. They stopped doing measurements over the last couple of years. No big surprise. It's probably higher, but we have 70%, so I always use that number. 70% of black kids are born to unwed mothers. 70%. When people talk about black parents, the overwhelming majority, not this quasi majority, the overwhelming majority are talking about single mothers. And if a black woman is talking about black parents, she will always say black parents. But if you ask her, she'll tell you, well, my parents weren't married. My dad really wasn't in my life. I was mostly raised by my mom. So it's like, so your parents didn't fail black women when it comes to dating. Your mother failed black women when it comes to dating. Or your mother failed you when it came to black dating. And this is it, And I've had women in my own family, like their approach to dating has been, particularly for younger women, has been to like make them go see The Color Purple. Like, oh, we're gonna take them to see The Color Purple, and it's like, well, why? Well, it's part of their education, and this is the type of unhinged behavior that frankly you really don't see anywhere else. Like white women are not taking their daughters to see Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts so they can be educated on the evils of white men. They're really just not doing that. Absolutely brutal. Here we go. From Comics League JT. Fun fact: Green Lantern War Journal was announced as an ongoing series, but got canceled at 12 issues due to racism. Nope, due to a lack of readership. Of course it was. So the whole 2100 days that a Blacklit ongoing is a lie. Maybe the people behind this hashtag should have done actual research. Yeah, nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about Black ongoing comic books. Nobody cares. This has always been and will always be an absolute lie. There is no readership. Godhood Comics makes comic books. At least that's something. You can at least say that they actually do things. So there's a real shift happening in Black comics, and we're proud to be a part of it. More Black creators are speaking up, thinking independently, building on their own terms, and refusing to be boxed in by political manipulation, performative agendas, or hive minded gatekeeping. We'll see. The culture is expanding beyond approval seeking and becoming creator driven again. At the end of the day, Black comic book creator should mean exactly what it says: Black people making comics. Different voices, different perspectives, different visions, united by the work, the creativity, and the passion of media. I got no issue with this. Yeah, I got no issue with this. And let's take a look at Godhood Comics. This is them from Atlanta, Georgia. Let's look at the stuff they put out. You're going to make me say mean things. Going to make me say mean things. Why does this book look like this? Oh, God. Oh, God. We're going to have to talk about it. Oh, my God. Hood Comics. Okay. Let's do this. I got to get to the beginning. I wonder if I have time. Yeah, I got time. Let's get to the beginning of Godhood Comics. I've never actually looked at Godhood Comics. I know who they are. I know they did a Kickstarter. I don't know much about them. Well, I mean, I will say this: man does put out a lot of work. I'd like to get to the very beginning if possible. Is that even possible? Well, you can't say he doesn't put out a lot of work. I'm not going to get to the bottom of this. Okay, all right, this is good enough. Okay, so they put out a bunch of books. The Antagonist. This is from back in 2024. You don't have to wait for Marvel or DC to give you authentic black superheroes or villains. We've got them right here. Godhood Comics. It's a black family because sometimes you've got to be the effing bad guy. And it's good versus eval, like evil with an A. Super weird. It's because it reads like good versus evaluation. There's a black family, kind of mafia style, with a picture of Martin Luther King. Sorry, Malcolm X. It's early. Coffee hasn't kicked in. Picture of Malcolm X in the background. Title says married parents, supervillains. Well, I mean, the fact that they're married and parents tells you that this is a comic book because that is almost entirely fiction in our community. Okay. Let's take a look at the rest of this. So these are the antagonists. I mean, the art is not bad. I think a lot of comic books have terrible art now. I think the standards for art in American comic books in particularly have gone straight to hell, but mostly because really good artists don't go into comics, they go into animation. Uh, the art is not bad overall. Uh, the antagonist, like, I mean, it's not bad. Okay, here we go. Here's a page. Sorry, Mama, I've developed a new pulsar laser cannon to help eliminate the ant menace plaguing our backyard. It attracts potential proton molecules and converts them into kinetic ones. I thought the safety was on. This is a little bit unfair because I'm reading these things out of context. Jesus Christ. Here's another one. Little kid, his parents are behind him. Goes, your father, and the kid is saying this. Your father can read minds, and your mother is bulletproof. I'd say we're way past impossible. Incredible. Up until now, I believe they only existed in theory. I've even tried to create one before, but I couldn't get past the axion anomaly. English, Taj. I don't know. Really smart little kids. I've never liked it. I just don't think it works that well. But again, maybe that is my bias. In Godhood we trust. I mean, okay, let's look at some of these character sheets he did. Mateos Chicharon. Mateo, a 17-year-old Costa Rican soccer star, has a bright smile and playful spirit. After his mother's death, he moved to New York, blending style with functionality. I don't know, man. Ebony, a vibrant 16-year-old African American girl, is confident, sassy, and a natural performer. Her bold fashion and elegant style reflect her cheerful personality. I don't know. I just don't I don't I don't know who this is for. Denzel, a 13-year-old Haitian American orphan, is a creative problem solver with a bold style. He embraces individuality through vibrant, eclectic outfits and layers. Again, I don't know. I don't know who these books are for. Not me, obviously, but I don't know who they're for. They are the Street Knights, a gritty new take on Super Sentai. I mean, I guess. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at things that I don't like that exist. Like, I think that's a weird thing to have. I do think that it is a little. I do wonder as I look at some of this stuff and I go, who is the audience? Uh, here's here's a man in a cat outfit. I'm not sure what's going on there. That's fine. It's fine. It's totally normal. It's totally normal, folks. Totally normal. There's nothing weird at all about that. The art itself is fine. I'm just not entirely sure who is reading these books in 2026. But I'm not mad. I'm not mad that he's making them. And look, he's raised $1,500, sorry, $150,000 to make these books. So someone is reading them. So that's who, and that's fine. One of the things that maybe gets overlooked a lot is that there's an audience for almost everything. If you make it and you do it consistently, you can find an audience that's interested in it. One of the really challenging things is as a creator is to have enough confidence in yourself to keep putting out work when you don't know or you don't have any feedback that anyone gives a shit. That's easily one of the most difficult things to manage because it's really scary. Like doing this stuff is really scary. Putting yourself out there is really scary. So yeah, that's Godhood Comics. Good little outfit. I wish I could tell you what they're about, but it's perfectly fine. Oh, 3 hours ago, he directly responded to the end of the DC So White campaign. So let's read that. If you ever want to keep the truth from a black person, give it to them while they're in a group. Now, how did this become something about other marginalized communities? We told you that about this far left Satanist blackout was never truly about uplifting black comics, black stories, or building opportunities for black creators. It was just another scam to weaponize black anger, trauma, and emotion to push more far left ideological agendas. And us good old black folk fall for it every time. At some point, we must stop confusing manipulation for solidarity. We must think independently and move intentionally and do better. We are black first. Jesus Christ. And this is the other thing. This is the absolute other thing, which is that you can't ever really get past this level of thinking. So it's like, okay, so DC So White as a campaign is designed around the false premise that it's because of racism that they don't make these books. And the only way to combat racism is with advocacy. And you go, okay, well, that's obviously not true. So you go, okay, and he's a black creator. And instead of saying, look, the real problem is you were happy to make a campaign, but you're not happy to spend $13, whatever comic books now, probably $95 to buy a monthly comic book. Do you have a subscription for these books at your comic book store? Are you buying the back issues? Is Cyborg's back are Cyborg's back issues sold out everywhere because you can't get Cyborg back issues because they're so popular? No. No one wants these books. That's why they don't make them. And so rather than taking a genuinely bold stance and saying, look, I'm a comic book creator, I have to make books that my audience wants to read. And if they don't want to read it, I'm not in business. There's no need for advocacy. The problem is we don't have an audience. And we don't have an audience because our books are not that good. Now, you can advocate for putting better books, better writers on black characters to give them an opportunity. That seems reasonable. But the characters have to make sense. And this is where fans need to, again, if fans cared about these characters, they would do the work. They would do fan fiction. They would write cool, which they do for Invincible. They would do animations. They would do all this stuff for this character and say, look how cool this character could be if DC only got off their ass and did something with it. That's that's perfectly reasonable. That is entirely reasonable. It's an excellent use of fan fiction, AI, animation, and that has been done for other characters. But if you're not willing to do any of that, why should DC invest more money into books that are just going to get canceled because nobody reads them? Now, instead of saying any of that, which is obviously the correct take, he goes into this far left Satanist. What does Satan have to do with it? And this is the thing, it like immediately devolves from any sort of material or systemic critique of what's happening to immediately now it's about Satan. And you're just like, everywhere you turn in black creative space, in black Twitter, you just basically find this, that the critique almost immediately devolves into nonsense, metaphysical bullshit about like, oh, the spirit. And we never get to the real point. And so what does he say? It's never about truly uplifting black comics. What does that mean? Uplifting black comic? What does that mean? Buy the friggin' books. We don't say uplift. Oh, how come no one is uplifting Absolute Batman? It does. Absolute Batman is a comic book. It's not Daenerys Targaryen at the end of Game of Thrones. It doesn't need to be uplifted by a sea of brown hands. People just buy the book because they like it. You want to build real opportunities for black creators? Buy black books. You want to uplift black stories? Buy black books. Just buy the friggin' things. Stop talking so much. So, and he says it was just a scam to weaponize black anger, trauma, and emotion to push far left ideologies. And he says they're being manipulated. And now they are black first. Then why should anyone non-black buy your book? Why should anyone not black buy your book if you are black first? Like, do you see the problem here? It's like we are black first, but we want white money. So we're fundamentally after, we want to be black first, but we want white money. And at no point is there any real honesty about what's going on. We like we would have we A lot of people have a problem with someone saying, "Oh, we are white first." Oh my God, how can you say that? What about everyone else? Well, if you're black first, it's like, well, what is your position? Well, I'm just saying we should be spending our money on black comics. We should be working for black things. We should be reading black characters. Well, okay, well, do you want to do that? Well, no, because they suck. Okay, then what are we talking about? Oh, so what do you like? Oh, I read manga. Well, why? Oh, it's really good. Oh, so it seems like the actual criteria for what people will spend their money on is whether or not they find it to be good. Shocking. I mean, just shocking stuff. Let's see what else is in the DC so white. Because why not? Let's all have some insanity. Okay, someone else is like, I respect what DC so white is doing. Why? But allow me to provide another solution. Okay, I haven't read the rest of this, but what are the odds the solution is going to be? What if we bought the back issues of all of the DC characters that we want to support? Oh, hang on. Let's see what he says. As we are reducing our purchasing power as they continue to show their hand. Wow, show their hand. They must be doing this because they hate the black characters. That must be what this is all about. We should simultaneously increase our purchasing power. I don't think they're using purchasing power correctly with black owned and black created comics that are readily available. Oh, so your game plan is just to not to continue to not spend money on DC books, which you weren't doing before, and actually spend money on black owned and black created comics. I mean, look, at least it is a market solution. It is a market solution. And actually, I'm going to give this a little bit more credit as well. It's actually not a bad idea. If you can show that there's a huge market demand for black owned black characters, DC will reconsider doing a an ongoing black character if there's market demand. So you could just do that. And responding to this original tweet, DC and Marvel both have compelling characters on par with Superman. They just don't do anything with them. First of all, being strong and invulnerable and an alien, I feel like Milestone is an alien, um, does not make you on par with Superman. So, all right, let's actually read this thing. DC and Marvel both have compelling black characters on par with Superman, and they just don't do anything with them. The big two historically struggled to invest, there's that word again, in black led books with the same patient infrastructure and long term commitments given to white legacy characters. Okay, let's talk about it. First of all, name three milestone villains. Yeah, my mic didn't die. I can't, you can't. I guarantee you the creator of this tweet can't. To have a character on par with Superman means that you have not only a hero who has, whatever powers, but that character occupies a place in culture. That character has villains that are compelling, that people care about. This is again one of the biggest problems is that we look at power sets and we think, oh, they're just like Superman, not like Superman. They don't have the iconography, they don't have the history, they don't have the the character bench, they don't have the backstories, they don't have the now Superman doesn't have like a bazillion great villains, Superman doesn't have a lot of things, but Superman has a lot of very good stories. There are very great Superman movies. There are very great Superman TV shows. Superman has benefited from being, kind of first, not first literally, but early, and he's had a long time. That's true. So but the reason why Superman has succeeded is because Superman was succeeding. So it's a bit of an unfortunate situation where it's like, why did they put so much money into Superman? Because people were reading Superman books. Why do they put no money into these other ones? Because people don't read them. And it is very much a question of which comes first, the spend or the outcome. And sadly, the reality is in 2026, you have to be able to sell books in order to get more investment into you. Because when I say investment, if you notice how I'm using it, investment in terms of a return for the person making the investment. And right now, there is no return on investment. Investing money into a milestone ongoing is not an investment, it's a subsidy, it's charity. So it's not that they've struggled, they have done some tests, they've done some trials, and the public didn't care. Like this is not hard. A YouTuber running DC So White launched a full DC Comics boycott this week, clearing his absolute Batman pull list to protest 1,200 days without a black character led ongoing. His demands included 18 to 24-month cancellation immunity for new black led titles regardless of sales. I mean, come on. Come on. And look, and hey, good on some of these comics for coming out and going, hey, let me try to make something happen here for my own business. So Godhood is here again. Again, they're here trying to make a go of it. Got no issue with that. Someone says, DC So White, how come no one bought or promoted the Power Company that released on April 30th so it could be picked up as an ongoing title? Hashtag fake outrage. Correct. Batman's late. Am I? Signal and Vixen I'm aware of, but you, I don't know. You should have told me you wouldn't be alone, Signal. I'm Josiah Power. I'm funding this team. Glad to have you a part of it. Jesus Christ. And these comic book designs. Oh my God. Yeah, the art is not great. Here's just someone. Even if it wasn't perfect, this definitely brought a lot of attention to the fact it's been a long time since a black character got an ongoing series. I also love seeing so many recommendations for black led stories. I can't wait to read. She's absolutely not going to read any of these things. Yeah, no chance. DC So I could maybe have a shred of credibility if they at least asked for a specific character. 5 million signatures demanding an ongoing Steel or Cyborg. DC would love to sell 5 million copies of anything. Money talks loud. Which one would you most want to see get an ongoing? Coherent. I mean, it's coherent. It's a decent take. DC So White Phase 2 has begun. This is back from May 20th. It's time. It's so funny. DC Phase 2 has begun. The blackout has begun. May 28th. June 2nd, blackout over. It's very funny. Like, okay, all right. Time for the stacking of the deck to end. What is, again, the language is this is unfair. The language is this shouldn't be happening to us. The language is um, what's being done to us isn't right. And what it what it's doing without saying it is that our underperformance is not a result of the audience's decision making, the quality of the books. No, it is manipulation, a stacking of the deck, an unfair shackling of these books relative to their peers. As if Absolute Cyborg could do Absolute Batman numbers. And that's just not the case. Oh boy. Let's see. Flashbacks. Absolute Green Lantern stars a black woman and has done so since day one. Interesting how none of these blurs, these black nerds, I hate this life, forget that shit when spreading their anti-white racist narratives. No one wanted black. No one wanted black Batman or BLM Static Shock. Deal with it. Correct. This is a correct take. This is 100% a correct take. 100%. Someone else whining about Cyborg. Comics writer Christopher Priest defends DC Comics against racism accusations from black comics, uh, from black comic fans amid the DC so white discourse. And of course, they're saying uh, that he is he's like a slave crying over his slave owner, and it's like this is it. This is the level of discourse. Here's someone else. I understand not wanting to indirectly punish the black creators pushing to give us what we want. But if you're a minority who doesn't see how the boycott of DC so white in general can benefit the community, then you need to rethink your position as a progressive. It's giving selfish. I mean, what do you do with this? What are you doing? Like, what are we doing? Someone else. I honestly don't think Zatanna is a special book in terms of DC so white, just because Jamal Campbell is working on it. I don't know who Jamal Campbell is. I'm assuming he's black because his first name is Jamal. He deserves all the support in the world, but I think people acting like it's something in need of support specifically the black audience are performative. Of course. Here we go. It's 2026. Do you know where DC officials' black superheroes are? Viction's been around since 1981, but has only ever had one miniseries. Despite CW appearances, she has been treated only as good enough to be on a team, never the lead of an ongoing series. And again, look at the language. She has been treated as only good enough to be on a team, never the lead. Like, brother, this is fiction. Like, it's just wild what's going on. But I mean, look, it's great. It's great advertisement for him. It's great advertisement for his channel. Oh, and okay, here's another one. Peep the cause. Let's get our characters represented better outside. James is a good heart with a great practical plan. Practical plan. Oh, he's got a oh yeah, super practical plan. What's his plan? Do nothing and complain on the internet. Okay. He's not just complaining with no feasible solutions to pitch. I stand by this effort. Full stop. Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. It's like what are we talking about? I gotta explain to Steve, but first I want to see if anyone else caught that. Okay, so someone posted up a picture of Avengers JLA crossover. So it's basically all of the Hulk. Oh, sorry, all of the Hulk. All of the Avengers line up with all of the uh, Justice League, and they're all together, and that's really cool. It's a good poster. It's actually not bad. It has very little depth, but whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna gripe about that. I'm not gonna gripe about the fact that Batman is tiny or really far away from where Steve is, but anyways, the scale is totally ridiculous. Like it's not great. The characters look tiny as if they are tiny. Like, anyways, I don't want to turn this into a whole thing about how I don't like this cover. I don't think it's a great cover. I think it's exceptionally flat cover with very little depth. But that's my own personal issue. But it's just like there's not one single black character on this cover. And if you look right here underneath Wanda is the Black Panther. Like it's Black Panther's right there. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. It'll never be enough for these people. Here's another one. How's Steel only getting a single feature in comics over 10 years is insane. It's not insane. Steel is not a great character. He's Iron Man with a hammer, with an S on his chest. He's just not a great character. And they've never had anything useful to do with him. Therefore, they don't have an ongoing book. It doesn't make any sense. And now they're like, oh, here's another example of four white people plus Yara Floor as the token POC. And it's literally Wonder Woman. And you're just like, what is happening? And this is why you can absolutely never please these people. It will never be enough. There is no such thing as enough. And this is the problem. But these people are totally unhinged. Anyways, that's the DC So White. I wasn't sure exactly what I was gonna do for this hour, but that's it. I mean, we could literally do this all day. Like it is shockingly bad. Like it's just shockingly. Like just the level of discourse is super bad. And here's another one. DC So White. They give pedophiles representation before black people. And it's like, Jesus Christ. You can't fix this. You can't fix this. You can't negotiate with it. There's nothing you can do with this. You just have to gatekeep. I was gonna do the Thurman. What's the Thurgood Marshall? Gatekeep now, gatekeep tomorrow, gatekeep forever. But then I said maybe not. It's a bit much for this one. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back later today. Ciao.